Thank you, donors.
From the bottom of our hearts, we're just so grateful.
Abhijeet. हेलो, कैसे हो बेटा? मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ, बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ। आज हमने आपको सरप्राइज दिया। हमने आज डिसाइड किया था, आपके पापा को बताया था, मम्मी को भी बताया था। ये लो बेटा। पीछे घूमो, पीछे घूमो, टी-शर्ट पीछे दिखाओ। I have gifted a life. I have gifted a life. और अभी आप अभिजीत क्या कहना चाहोगे?
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
कि आप बाकी डोनर्स के लिए क्या अपील करोगे लोगों को?
Such a great experience to donate my stem cell and save life, and it's a huge opportunity to match my stem cells and be able to save someone's life. I really appreciate if anyone else please donate your stem cells, and you feel such a, I mean, I don't have word to describe the experience. I feel absolutely fine, and the doctors are there for me throughout the process, and it's totally safe process. Datri is a great organization, and I feel really I feel grateful to be part of the great organization. This organization values save someone's life, and it's really great organization.
कुलदीप जी, आपके और बलेश जी, आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे बेटे ने जो स्टेम सेल डोनेट किया?
मैं तो यही कहना चाहूँगा कि हमें अपने बेटे पर गर्व है, और इसने इतना अच्छा काम किया, इसने बहुत अच्छा काम किया, और मैं तो यही कहूँगा कि और भविष्य में भी इस तरह की कोई कभी भी जरूरत हो किसी को, तो हमें अपना योगदान देना चाहिए।
बलेश जी, आप तो वहाँ पर साथ में थे जब अभिजीत ने डोनेट किया था, आपको कैसा लगा था?
बहुत अच्छा लगा। मैं तो दूसरे बेटों को कह रही मगर आएंगे तो तुम भी दे दे शाम को।
बिल्कुल, मैं इसीलिए आज लेके आई हूँ। मुझे बताया था कि आपकी फैमिली रजिस्टर करना चाहते हैं, तो मैं आज लेके आई हूँ।
मैं तो कहती मगर अगर मैं दे सकता हूँ मैं भी दे दूँ, पर मेरा एलर्जी है इसलिए मैं दे नहीं।
कोई बात नहीं, जो भी दे सकते हैं, बेटा रजिस्टर करेगा आपका, बहुत अच्छी बात।
मैं तो कहती इसको भी मैंने कहा मैडम आए मगर तुम भी दे दिए।
जी,
देखो जो काम हमने आपको दे दिया उसको हम माने बहुत अच्छा काम है, इसलिए इसको करना चाहिए।
एक्सपीरियंस भी काफ़ी अच्छा था हमने, और ये तो अच्छी बात है किसकी लाइफ से होनी। मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं होता, तो थोड़ी सी देर के लिए तो कहीं हो रही है।
जी, थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू।
Any time of the day when a child is born,
We courier drivers transport fresh cord bloods from the hospital and deliver them straight to the blood banks for long-term storage. Hopefully, they will once serve as a life-saving transplant for a cancer patient.
Once a stem cell product is collected, it is very important to ensure that nothing goes wrong. We as stem cell transport agents plan with different fallback options, so in case of irregularities we have a plan B to ensure that the stem cells reach the patient on time and in the right condition. I am a stem cell transport agent and I support saving lives.
When a cancer patient searches for a suitable stem cell donor, we logistics managers make sure that their blood samples arrive in the lab safe and in time. I'm a sample logistic manager and I support saving lives.
We stem cell trainers make sure to share all our experience with each courier so that every transport mission can be a success. I am a stem cell courier trainer and I support saving lives.
Did you ever wonder how freshly donated blood stem cells travel globally to cancer patients in need? We stem cell couriers hand carry each individual transplant to even the remotest places on Earth. Direct, secure and as fast as possible. I'm a stem cell courier and I support saving lives.
Couriers of materials like cord blood or cell therapy products cannot be X-rayed. It must be handled with utmost care. We, special cargo agents, make sure that life-saving products are treated appropriately with air transport procedures. I'm a special cargo handling agent and I support saving lives.
When cell therapy products are bound to fly as air cargo, they go through many hands. It is essential that everyone involved knows what they're dealing with. We are airside monitoring agents, supervise the cargo procedure on the tarmac and are advocates of our life-saving products transported. I'm an airside monitoring agent and I support saving lives.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, traveling of stem cell couriers was heavily restricted. At certain times, only freighter aircraft were operating and stem cell transplants could not be accompanied by their couriers. We cargo pilots took care of thousands of transplants, bringing them to destinations worldwide so that cancer patients had a chance of surviving. I am a cargo pilot and I support saving lives.
This is Andrew. This is Anna. She was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 3 years old. He was the marrow donor who saved Anna's life. Do you know that the chances of a marrow donor being a perfect match for a patient can be as slim as 1 to thousands? They vary widely depending on the rarity of the patient's tissue type. As a marrow donor, Andrew's stem cells are infused to replace Anna's malfunctioned cells, allowing her bone marrow to produce healthy blood again. At the Bone Marrow Donor Program, we provide hope for patients with blood-related diseases, such as leukemia, lymphoma, and myeloma, when their only chance of survival is a bone marrow transplant. The demand for bone marrow transplant in Singapore has increased over the years. Every day, 6 Singaporeans are diagnosed with a blood-related disease. Every month, 50 patients are on a waiting list to find a donor match. This is where we come in. We educate and recruit donors in our register to help increase the chances of our patients in finding a match. Our staff, ambassadors and volunteers work hard to drive awareness and rally support towards our mission by partnering with the corporate, education and government sectors, as well as shopping malls and the community, to conduct talks and organize roadshows. Currently, there are more than 110,000 marrow donors in our register, becoming part of a global life-saving community. We are connected to over 90 other marrow donor registries in more than 50 countries through the World Marrow Donor Association to search, match and connect donors to patients in Singapore and overseas. When a donor is identified as a match, we journey with them, providing counseling and support, as well as bringing our donors through their donation process, while working closely with the hospitals and transplant centers to ensure a smooth donation. Besides connecting them to donors, we also provide patients with financial support through our Hematopoietic Progenitor Cells HPC Procurement Subsidy Scheme. In 2020, we introduced a new patient subsidy fund to help cushion our patients' transplant-related costs and post-transplant expenditures. Patients like Anna are our driving force, and they are at the heart of everything we do. Our patients need us fast, and they need us now. The good news is, as long as you're healthy and are between the age of 18 and 49, anyone can sign up as a marrow donor online at WMDD.org. There are also many other ways that you can show your support by being a volunteer, ambassador, or simply supporting your loved ones in their marrow donation journey. We need the support from all of you to give our patients hope.
Give them hope. Give them hope.
அவர்களுக்கு நம்பிக்கை அளிப்போம்.
Give them hope.
Beri mereka harapan.
Give them hope. 给他们希望.
Give them hope.
Give them hope.
All right. Hi. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to today's webinar by the Bone Marrow Donor Program. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. It's truly heartening to know that so many of you signed up to listen to our donor stories and perhaps even learn something new about bone marrow donation. My name is Marrow, and I'm a marketing coordinator with RISE Communications. I worked with BMDP on a student project a few years ago, and I'm happy to be here to moderate today's discussion. So the title of today's webinar is I Said Yes. And that's very true of our session tonight because we have two amazing marrow donors as well as their parents here this evening to share with us their experiences of saying yes to bone marrow donation. And of course, we're also fortunate to have a senior hematologist with us to address some of the concerns that those of you tuning in right now might be thinking about. So to get things rolling, I'd like to first start off with a short, simple poll, which I believe you'll start seeing on your screens right about now. Yes, so the question for the poll is, would you inform your family after you sign up as a marrow donor? I'll give you a few seconds to answer yes or no, and I'll reveal what the responses are. So this might seem like a very straightforward thing to some of us. We might assume that, oh, you know, what's the big deal? We'll just do it, right? Get our cheeks swabbed and be a marrow donor. But you'll find out that that's not the case for some people. Okay, so I have some of the responses here. The majority of you said yes. About 83% of you said yes, and about 17% of you said no. So the reason why we asked this question is because in a recent survey done with our marrow donors, more than half of them indicated that their family did not know that they had signed up as a marrow donor. And this has a trickle-down effect because it has also been found that a lack of family support is one of the more common reasons for donors not proceeding with a donation when they are found to be a match. Now, that's definitely something that's worth noting because family support is going to be one of today's central themes. But before we get into that, I would like to inform all of you that if you have any questions throughout this evening, you can use the Zoom Q&A section or the feature that you see at the bottom of your screens below to drop any burning questions that you may have. We'll reply them either immediately or through the Zoom Q&A section itself, or through the dedicated Q&A segment that we'll have at the end of today's session. Again, you are free to drop your questions in the Zoom Q&A section at any time throughout this session. Okay, now that we have all the housekeeping matters out of the way, I think it's time to introduce our wonderful speakers for today. We've got 6 of them, donors, their parents, and hematologists, as I mentioned earlier. So please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome to, firstly, Joey, Janice, and Jeffrey. Hi, you guys. Hi, please introduce yourselves to everyone watching.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joey. I'm an ex-national bowler and current medical student, and I'm glad to be here to share my experience with everybody today.
Hi, I'm Janice. I'm Joey's mommy.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey, Joey's dad.
Thank you so much. Hi, Janice, Joey, and Jeffrey. And next we have with us Caris and her mom, Moy Kim. Hello.
Hi, I'm Caris here.
Hi, this is Moy Kim, Caris' mom.
Happy to have the both of you with us today. And lastly, but not the least, of course, we have Dr. Ko. Hi, Dr. Ko.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ko. I'm a senior hematologist from National University Hospital.
Okay, thank you for your introductions. We'll keep it brief because we'll get to know more about them afterwards or throughout the session itself. I think it's time we jump right in. Okay, let's ask the first question. Caris and Joey, let's provide some background and context. When did you sign up as a marrow donor and how do you find out about it to begin with? Maybe we can start with Joey.
Yeah, so actually part of our team initiative with the women's bowling team, we actually signed up to be on the registry as a whole team. And that was back in 2016. So it was actually a team effort in which I actually learned about it.
Okay, Caris, would you say it's a similar experience that you had?
Yeah, so mine was a school drive. So I think I was in junior college at that time. So I think during one of like the lunch periods or what, they came over to our school and my friends and I just decided to sign up together. Yeah.
Might as well, right? During lunch.
Nothing better to do. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, that's cool. But I do have to ask the both of you though, when you signed up, did you tell your parents you signed up as a marrow donor? Caris, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. Joey, what about you?
I had no choice because it was in the Straits Times, so I couldn't really hide it, you know.
So you were exposed by the news, basically.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Completely fine. Okay, so that was when the both of you decided to register as donors. But Joey, what was your initial reaction when sometime later you found out that you were a donor match?
To be honest, I was very surprised because I think like probably a lot of donors, you just sign up and you forget about it. And then one day you get the email or the SMS from WMDD, you're like, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah, so, you know, I just went through the process and definitely there was a lot of guidance on the way.
Okay, Caris, were you, how about you? How do you feel when you had to tell your parents? Was there any fear? Were you nervous, excited?
I think because my call came quite a few years after I signed up. So I think I completely forgot about it. So I think it came as quite a surprise, having to like, oh, I actually signed up for this a few years ago.
Right.
But I think more surprise than worry or apprehension. Because I think I've heard before that it was going to be quite a safe procedure, so I didn't worry too much about it. But I think when I told my parents, they were pretty shocked because they didn't know I signed up. Yeah.
So basically what I'm getting from the both of you is that years later you get informed, you get surprised, you tell your parents, and then they get surprised. So there's a whole family of surprise, basically. Wow, okay, that's completely understandable. So now my questions are to the parents. What was your reaction like when your children were found as a match? Do you have any concerns, Janice, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think when Joey informed us about this match that she received, it was a surprise as well, and then I was a bit worried. Yeah, so of course we will support her, but then I've got to do a lot of reading up to find out more about it.
Right. Of course. Moikim, would you say that you had the same kind of reaction?
I would say there is a mixed feeling. It was like happy on one hand that she was so courageous and willing to step forward, but on the other hand also concerned about her health and whether she really knew what she's getting into. Yeah.
Right, naturally, I think as parents, that would be your concern, right? Your child's safety first. Okay, that's great. It's heartening to know, though, that as parents, Janice, Jeffrey, and Ricken, that you were supportive of their decisions. Okay, so now, by now, I believe that all of us have a good understanding of what the initial stages of being a donor feels like. I think it's a good time now to turn over to our resident medical expert, Dr. Koh, who has seen many donors through their bone marrow donation journey. So, Dr. Koh, I'd like to first ask, what is your role when a potential donor first comes to you?
As a donor physician, when the patient or the donor is referred to our center for evaluation, my job is, of course, most important of all, to explain to the donor why they are here and give them some counseling to explain to them the entire process involved in the bone marrow or stem cell donation. And then, of course, this will be followed by a thorough medical examination to make sure that this donation process is done safely.
Okay, to touch on that a little bit, do you mind explaining to us what exactly happens during the donor workup to ensure donor safety?
So we will start off with the standard history taking to get some medical history background of the patient, the donor's underlying health condition, and also perform a thorough medical physical exam to make sure that they don't have any abnormal physical signs, and followed by some support, some basic laboratory tests, such as blood tests, kidney function, liver function. We also perform ECG, X-ray for some donors to make sure that they are medically fit. Of course, on top of that, we want to make sure that the donor is not a carrier of any infectious disease that can potentially pass over to the recipient.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. That definitely helps, with any concerns that people might have. And I'm also sure that after today's session, we'll have several few people who are interested in registering as donors. What would you say to those donors? What should they be aware of before proceeding with the donation?
I would like to reassure that we will make sure this procedure is performed safely, and overall, this donation of marrow or stem cell has been done as part of the treatment for cancer or those serious blood-related disorders in this over the last 50 years, and we are quite sure that most of the time, this procedure can be done safely, and we will make sure that this procedure is done in a very safe manner. Yeah.
Okay, that's definitely an important thing to remember for everyone. So from my understanding, right, and this is from like my student project years also, there's two types of donation that donors can choose. Do you mind explaining to us very briefly what these are?
So essentially, the bone marrow is a source of cells that originates from the bone itself, the bone where most of blood cells are formed. So traditionally, this collection of cells was performed via a puncture through the backbone or buttock bones under anesthesia. Over the last 30 years, there's another newer method called the peripheral blood stem cell collection, in which the donor receives some booster of what we call GCSF to mobilize the stem cell from the bone marrow into the peripheral circulation, and the cell collections was done via the veins over the limbs, either the upper arms or over the groin area. So this is called the peripheral blood stem cell collection.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Koh, for your medical perspective on the initial part of the donation process. Now, let's find out what it feels like on the flip side of that. Joey, back to you. When you first met up with BMDP, how was the information session like with the BMDP staff?
So it was very informative. They actually gave me a lot of material and went through both the methods of donation as well as the various process leading up to the actual day itself. So because when you're first shortlisted as a donor, you're not actually found to be an exact match yet. And you also need to go through all the medical screenings, as Dr. Koh had mentioned earlier. So it was still a very introductory step, and they gave me lots of information which allowed me to explain to my parents what this whole process actually entails.
Okay, relating to that, Karis, when you met up with your doctor, were there any specific questions that you asked before proceeding with your donation?
I guess the question that my mom and I had when we went, and that was at the forefront of our minds, is long-term side effects, or whether the surgery or the other method of collection would adversely affect our health in the long run. I think that's a question in the Q&A as well. So the doctor as well as the BMTP staff actually reassured us by letting us know that actually it was a very rare occurrence and actually none at all, minimal side effects and stuff like that. So after my surgery, I actually recovered really fast, and up till now, no side effects.
Okay, that's great. I think that's one of the top concerns that a lot of people would have, right? Okay, so Mohim, touching a little bit on what your doctor just said, right? As she got closer and closer to her donation, did Karis ever express to you any hesitation or worries that she might have had?
I don't think she was quite determined, in fact, from the start until the end. There's no turning back.
So even if you say no, she would have just gone with it, right?
Yeah, no.
But you would have supported her nonetheless. Okay, that's nice. How about you, Janice and Jeffrey? Did you at any point feel like withdrawing Joey from the process?
I wouldn't say it's thoughts of withdrawing her, but more concern regarding her health, the downstream side effect, especially so because then she was actually part of the bowling national bowling, and we have concern whether it will affect her bowling career or not.
Right. Joey, do you have the same concerns?
Yep, of course. Still being in my teens then, and of course leading up towards my national bowling career, there's a lot of question marks in my head, like how is this going to affect my performance? Am I going to be able to go back to sport after that? So many questions, but I was rest assured because every single question we had was answered by the team or by the doctor.
Okay, that's good to know. And especially, again, it's always nice to know that you have supportive parents who empower your decisions, right? Who give you the agency to make your decisions and then support it as well. Okay, so now we want to fast forward a little bit to the day of donation itself. Karis, tell us, how was the donation experience itself like? Who was with you? What was your day like? Give me every single detail. We want to know.
Okay, so I think leading up to it, Okay, I'll just continue first. My surgery was very early in the morning. It was like about 6 a.m. So I actually got to the hospital really early. I fasted the night before, I think. And the surgery was over in like maybe an hour or so. So I spent the entire day in hospital, but I actually could get discharged by the end of the day in the evening. So it's really not as bad as you would think, where you have to stay in hospital for observations and stuff like that. So by the end of the day, I was really at home and resting. And I think right after my surgery, after I woke up, it was, I think I felt a little sore at my back because of the pelvic bone part, but actually it wasn't like painful or anything. It was just pretty sore, but the soreness actually went away quite fast also for me. Yeah, okay. And as you can see, throughout the day, my friends actually came over and visited as well. Right. By the end of the day, they were the ones on the bed, not me. So yeah, I think that's testament to what a simple surgery is, and that it's actually not as something scary as you would think. Yeah.
Okay, Joey, describe to us your experience. Was it the same? I understand you went through a different process, right?
So because I went through the PBSC route, actually leading up to the day itself of the harvest, for 5 days, I had to self-inject what Dr. Koh had mentioned, GCSF. So it was basically like a small injection that I had to give to myself every morning. And then on the day itself, I went to the hospital quite early as well. Typically, it would be drawn from your arm veins, but because my arm veins are very small, they actually put in a central line so that you'll have better access. And then I was all set up. As you can see, I'm working very hard and studying there. So I was just chilling out, The worst part of the entire thing was having to go to the washroom in bed because I couldn't leave the bed and I was tied up to the machine. Yeah, but other than that, it was just me lying there and the machine beside me, you can see, was doing all the work of taking out the cells, purifying it, ensuring it's processed properly.
Okay, so we can see that that's you going through the process with your laptop, right? What are you doing on your laptop there?
Studying. I was preparing for my tests and exams.
Oh my goodness. So you see, do you know how I know that you're a much better person than me? It's because if I was in your position, I would not be doing any kind of studying. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I am unable to, even if I'm able to. So good for you, okay? Good for you. I applaud you for that. Okay, so that's good to know. How about the parents? Can you tell me, as people looking in, so to speak, how do you think the donation process went? Janice and Jeffrey?
Yes. You were there, right?
Yeah. So for us, it was a very pleasant journey. In the morning, the staff actually accompanied us from the beginning till the end of the whole procedure. Yeah. And in fact, Joey has to stay for a second night, for a second harvest due to her recipient being a bigger size person and need more stem cells. The staff was also with us for the second day. Yeah. And at every step, they keep us updated. So I must say that there is no one point in time that we are left unknown, unclear about what's going to happen. Yeah. It was a very pleasant so-called experience.
Okay, that's good to know. How about you, Mukim? Would you say that you shared similar experience?
Yeah, I think similarly, the staff actually waited for us when we arrived at the hospital. And throughout the whole process, she explained almost every step a couple of times to make sure that we really understand what we're going to be going through or what Carrie's going to go through. And also she stayed until, in fact, she came back again at the end of the day to make sure that we are all right. And yeah, I think it's very informative and she really accompanied us throughout the whole process. Yeah.
Okay.
Very assuring. Yeah.
Okay, so now to kind of just hypothetical, okay, if because you've seen your daughters gone through it, you were there witnessing it. If it was you being the donor, would you be up to it? Janice and Jeffrey?
Certainly,
Yes.
certainly.
Yes.
In fact, both my husband and I signed up as a donor after this.
We did a swap.
Yeah, after my daughter finished donating. Yeah.
Right. That's nice. Okay, so we just have to wait a few years and then maybe they'll give you a call. And then you'll be in the bed doing your work on your laptop.
No, I will be like you.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. No work. No thanks. Moikim, how about you?
I am willing to sign up, but probably I'm not qualified. Yeah, age. Yeah.
Right. I asked my parents the same thing and they'll be like, well, you do it first. I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. But okay, that's good to know. I'm glad that the donation process went smoothly for the both of you, Caris and Joey. Now, I think some of us would like to know though, Caris, was there any reason that you chose the bone marrow harvest as your donation method?
Yeah, so mine was the surgery, right? I think it was also a timing thing. So I was having my final year exams at university and I know the way that Joey did it actually requires you injecting the what's it called again, the hormones or something, yeah, into yourself So if I'm not wrong, the BMTB staff actually told me that it would cause quite a bit of discomfort leading up to the actual collection So I was worried that it would affect my exams. Yeah. So I actually opted for the more invasive one because it was more of a one-time thing. Like just go there, then can finish, then recover after that.
Okay, but now that you saw the photo evidence of Joey being able to still revise and study for a test, right? Do you think that's a good excuse? Would you though reconsider if you're given the choice to try the other method?
Actually, yeah. So for mine, I actually had to go back a second time after my surgery because I think my donor needed a little more blood, stem cells or white blood cells, I think. So I actually did the transfusion method as well that Joey did, and it was very fast free, and the staff were very attentive and I think the time flew past pretty fast. Yeah. So if I had to reconsider, both okay lah.
I would say yes. As the title of today's webinar, I would say yes.
I would say yes.
In the spirit of that. Okay, thank you so much. What about you, Joey? Having been a professional bowler, I could never again. Hats off to you. Did you have any apprehension about the PBSC donation method and with the GCSF injections?
I think definitely thinking long term, my thought will be how is this going to affect me in the future? And I've had reassurance from along the entire way from both the doctors, the team, and even speaking to my own personal doctor that it's safe. It's not going to have any long-term effects. And yeah, so I went ahead with it. And I'm not spoiling. I don't spoil market lah.
Okay, I want to touch a little bit on that though. You speaking about the bowling aspect of it, right? This maybe going back to the earlier part of the process. I want to ask you, when you first revealed to your family, did you tell anyone else, your friends, your close relatives, that you were being a donor?
No, the only people I told actually were my parents, and that was because I was not 21 at that point in time, and I needed them to sign my consent form. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Caris, how about you?
Yeah, besides my parents, I think I told a few of my close friends as well.
And how did they react to it?
They were pretty excited for me, I think. Like, wow, like some lot, like get, it's like when you because I think
like lucky draw like
yeah,
that, right?
lucky draw, right? Yeah.
Golden ticket, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, yes.
Yeah, and it was my friend's birthday on that day as well. So she came over and she came and celebrated. So it was just like a party, yeah, I don't even know. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Moikim, did you tell any of your relatives?
Not really, but probably subsequently after the donation, we did mention to some of our extended family members. Yeah.
Did they have any kind of like specific reactions? Were they supportive? Were they just indifferent?
Oh, I think most of them say, wow, Caris is so courageous, and I think they were all very supportive and say that she did a good job. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. And one last part about like the earlier part of the process to Janice and Jeffrey. Did you or Joey know anyone who had gone through this donation process? Okay, you didn't know anyone at all. So do you think you would have helped if you had known someone personally who had been through it?
Yes, definitely.
Because I understand Caris and Moikim did know someone, like distant relative or friend, right?
Yeah, a distant, I think I was not a direct friend, indirect friend. I think when as responded to appeal for that. And at that point in time, I think many years ago, I was thinking, wow, this guy must be really somebody, I think a hero in a sense, willing to step forward to save somebody's life, donating the bone marrow, because I didn't know what it means, but it sounds like a lot of things that you're going to take up from your body to give to somebody else, you know.
Right. That's understandable. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's like just based on what you've told us already, I think hopefully from today's session or today's webinar, everyone at least goes away knowing the two of you had been through it, and like it will help allay any kind of worries that anyone would have. So speaking on that, Dr. Koh, I want to ask you again. I'm sure aspects of Joey's and Carrie's stories sound familiar to you. What can you tell us about some of the commonly asked questions by donors and their parents?
So if the donor has opted or been offered the option of marrow harvest, the parents or the patient, the donor themselves ask, will this cause any long-term problem to my bone, my backbone? So one of the most common misconception that they have is whether this bone marrow harvest involve puncturing the spine. And every time we mention about bone marrow harvest or bone marrow puncture, they thought we are going to puncture a needle into the spine, and that may potentially cause paralysis. So that's actually not correct. Bone marrow harvest is actually done over the pelvic bone, over the buttock areas where there are no vital organs overlying it. So we always explain to them and make sure that they understand this is actually quite a safe procedure. Then the second questions that has been always asked or raised is whether there's any long-term long-term side effects from GCSF. So we will also explain to them that it's not associated, or there's no long-term safety issue that they should be worried about.
Okay, that's good to know. And to be a little more specific, especially to address some concerns, do GCSF injections have any long-term side effects on donors?
So this has been studied in a large cohort of donors across many centers and countries in the world. And these donors have been followed up for a long period of time. So the conclusion from these studies showed that there's no long-term safety issues. So that one, we can reassure all the donors undergoing GCSF injection.
Okay, then I also wanted to ask, what has there been, especially during like the earlier process of the donor process, right? Has there ever been any time where you had to reject a donor?
It is very infrequent. I had hardly or almost never rejected anyone except maybe one out of few hundred donors that came for screening. And that particular patient had some underlying disease that has been diagnosed only through the screening. His blood count was a little bit abnormal, and there was concern that there was some bone marrow issue or underlying blood disorders.
Okay.
So it is not common.
That's good. That's good to know. I think it would be unnecessary to worry about something like that, right?
That's right.
Do you know which one is more common, or which one is more preferred, whether it's the PBSC method or the bone marrow harvest?
That is usually decided by the patient's physician, who
okay, that's fair.
Asks us to screen the donor. So, I mean, most common now, the option of PBSC is much more common now than using the bone marrow.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Go, for the clarification. Right. So before we wrap up this part of the session, I'd like to ask Karis and Joey, back to the both of you, how was your post-donation journey like? We know it was easy and simple. The process itself was easy and simple. But how much time passed before you were able to get back to your day-to-day activities? Joey?
The next day, actually. Yeah, so yeah, I went back to school like shortly after, because at the time I was still studying in my undergrad days. And then I went back to training probably the week after. So other than that, recovery-wise, there were some follow-ups that I had to go to the doctor who actually cleared me for the bone marrow donor process. So went back for some follow-ups, did some blood tests just to make sure that everything is fine. And they actually did call me about I think for a 1-year follow-up and a 2-year follow-up, just to make sure that there's been no long-standing effects, which everything has been great so far.
Okay, so when you went back for the 1-year follow-up, the 2nd-year follow-up, that everything was okay? Okay, that's amazing to know that immediately the day after you can go back to school. Again, I wouldn't. And the week after you go back to training, that is amazing. That's wonderful. Karis, how about you? What was your post journey like?
Yep, so I think I did my surgery. I went back on the day itself, right? So I rested at home for maybe a couple of days, and then I was up and about as well. So really, really very fast. And I think another thing that so I actually played floorball in university lah. So I think managed to do that pretty soon after as well. But I guess also sometimes, you just tell yourself, relax and, excuse to not exercise. Yeah. But doesn't mean I cannot. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could have exercised if I wanted to. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Ko, usually what would your advice be like for the patients after they've done the donation? How long should they rest?
Usually 1 or 2 days, they'll get back to normal. So shouldn't be an issue at all.
Okay.
For those that underwent had the bone marrow harvest, just make sure that the wounds are healing well. There's no swelling, no bleeding, no infection. Then they should be okay.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so thank you everyone for sharing with us today. Now we're moving on to the next part of the next segment of today's session, the Q&A, or the question and answer. We have some questions coming in that have been vetted, and I'll direct it to specifically each of you. The first question is for Dr. Ko. Hi, Dr. Ko. Can all donors donate using both methods?
Yes, the answer is yes. You can either go for PBSC or the bone marrow harvest.
So it's like there's no like if you are a certain type of
No. The answer is no.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the decisions are usually made by the patient's physician.
Okay, I understand. Okay, next question. This is to Dr. Ko, Joey, and Karis. So each of you can take a turn. How long was the recovery? So maybe we can start with Joey.
Yeah, like I said just now, there was no, honestly, I would say maximum 1 to 2 days for me, because like there was a little bit of soreness, mostly from where the central line was placed. Because it was quite a big wound, but other than that, physically wise, I felt nothing, no difference.
Okay, Karis?
Yeah, same as Joey. Like what I mentioned before, I recovered really fast within that week. I was up and about. So yeah, thinking back, there were no side effects. Like for example, I couldn't run fast enough. I couldn't play floorball or anything. None of these things happened. Yeah. So I would say I went back to being perfectly normal pretty fast. Yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Ko, you would say these are pretty common experiences, right? To be able to get back to it right after. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Next question, Dr. Ko, is there a diet to follow before the donation? Am I supposed to fast? Should I avoid anything?
I don't think there's anything specific about that. I will probably just ask the donor to avoid things like alcohol or traditional Chinese medication, so that you don't get ill or you don't get unwell that make you unfit for donation.
Okay, next question for Dr. Ko again. Are both methods, I think someone is a bit worried, are both methods pain-free? Would that be okay to describe it?
Actually, none of the procedures are pain-free. If you go for bone marrow harvest, you have to go through multiple punctures from the pelvic bone or the buttock bone. You certainly experience some soreness, swelling, or sometimes even minor bleeding from the puncture sites. If you go for the GCSF or PBSC mobilization method, you have to receive 5 days of a booster called the GCSF. That may sometimes cause some bone ache, muscle ache, and even low-grade fever. And on the day of the harvest, the doctors may have to insert a line, what they call a catheter, either on your upper arm, or over the groin area. And that may certainly cause some discomfort. And during the harvesting itself, you may experience some numbness and a little bit of muscle ache during the collection. So I would not say there's no pain. There's probably pain that you have to bear with, but the medical team will make sure that we give you some medication to relieve those discomfort during or after the procedure.
Okay, so Joey, you went through that method, right? So again, just to reflect what Dr. Ko has said, and maybe to just give comfort to the worries that maybe the person who asked had. You did experience some discomfort, but like you were able to go through it pretty okay, right?
Yeah. At most, I had a little bit of backache after the first day of injections. And actually, I was okay to do my own injections. But upon the time where they gave me the shots, they said, if you're actually not comfortable to, give yourself the injections, you can actually go to a GP and they will help you do it. And it's perfectly fine if you don't want to do it yourself. So I think having that option was very comforting as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, now let's move on to the next question, directed to Dr. Ko as well. Hi, Dr. Ko, which method is better to opt for? And also for post-donation healing, which is faster?
From the donor's perspective, both are equally safe and equally good.
That is
the method of donation affects more on the patient rather than on the donor. So as a donor, you should not be worried. Actually, both are equally safe and equally effective. The effect of the donation method is much more seen in the patient receiving cells than on you. So do not worry about that.
Okay, Ken. I have the next question also for Dr. Ko. If Karis, Joey, Janice, Jeffrey, and Moikim, if at any point you feel like you can, add on to what Dr. Ko is saying, because you did go through the experiences yourselves, right? If you feel like you can, add to it also, please feel free to chime in, all right? So the next question is, I wouldn't consider myself a physically fit person. If I were to sign up as a bone marrow donor, will the BMI be checked and be a criteria when you are choosing to accept or reject?
I think we don't really look at that. As long as you do not have a major medical condition, you should be eligible. If you're worried about low BMI, I actually have not encountered any case like that before, not even for overweight or high BMI. So BMI should not be a major consideration.
Okay. Okay, I have a question myself. If we've shared quite a fair bit today, right? From everyone has given us a lot to think about. I want to ask, especially from the donors themselves, Karis and Joey, if you had like one line or one thing to if not encourage, inform people about being a donor, or something really, really like on your chest you want people to know, what would that one thing be? Maybe we can start with Joey.
I think for me, it's that, sign up on the registry first. It's not a confirm, it's not 100% that you're going to be selected as a donor anyway. So, if you do get that call and you do feel like you're up to it, then go for it. It's not a thing that you have to go for it if you are chosen. You still have that option at any point in time along the journey to say, no, this is not okay. I do not want to proceed. And there's no harm in signing up. You could be opening the door for someone else to have an extra chance to save their life.
Right, I completely agree. I did my cheek swab like 4 years ago, and I'm still waiting for my call. I'm like, when is it gonna happen?
Oh, you know?
Like right now. Yeah, that completely makes sense. Thank you, Joey. What about you, Karis?
Yeah, I echo what Joey says, but something that my friends and I always say, right, to each other is minimum effort, maximum results. And I really think this applies exactly to the situation.
Right.
I think on the donors end, it's really very little required on our part, but that little required actually can really make a huge impact. Yeah. So
yeah. No, that's perfect. Like such a small act, and you don't even know if something's going to happen with it. Such a small act can lead to something really, really meaningful to someone. Amazing. I completely appreciate that. Okay, so now let's move on back to some of the questions that people have. Dr. Ko, how many times can a person donate their bone marrow in a lifetime?
There is no limit to that procedure. We probably will make sure that this donor does not go through 2 procedures within a short period of time. So I think the minimum gap that we have is about 3 months to 4 months between the one and the second procedure, the first procedure. So there's actually no limit as to how many times you can donate your stem cell.
Okay, great. Okay, and last two questions directed at both Karis and Joey. Hi, Karis. You said if given the chance, you will opt for another method rather than pelvic bone. Apart from time constraint, is there anything else? And then for Joey, in addition to that, if you had a choice, would you have done the other method that Karis went through? Maybe Karis, you can answer first.
I think I will still choose, if I had to do it again, I had to choose from both methods, right?
Yes, because Dr. Ko just said that there's no limit. So you can keep giving it.
I personally would just, I think I'll choose pelvic bone again, like the bone marrow harvest actually. Because I think for me, I know some people have concerns about GA and I think these are very valid concerns, especially it's an invasive surgery and it might leave scars and stuff like that. But I think for these, for me, these concerns were not as strong or as high as discomfort. So I really don't like being in discomfort and like being aware of it. So right. For GA, you're just knocked out, right? So the moment you go under and then you wake up.
Perfect for me as well, yeah.
So I feel like I would still choose that.
Okay. How about you, Joey? Would you be like us, the rest of us, just...
I think when I signed up, when I indicated my preferred route, I actually put anything. So it was actually up to the physician to decide what was better for me and for, of course, the patient side. So I mean, yeah, sure, if I were to be knocked out, I mean, I can't study, but I will study when I wake up.
No,
I'm just never going to stop studying.
Yeah. Listen, don't ever. It's a good thing to do. All right. Thank you, everyone. That was really, really insightful. So for any questions that we didn't address today, right, we do apologize, but you can bring them up during the next session when you join us next week. Okay. But before that, so unfortunately, we are nearing the end of today's session, but I'm still a bit capable. So I do have last few questions to ask our speakers, some last few earnest questions, if you don't mind. Karis and Joey, how did the support of your parents help you in your donation experience? Joey?
I definitely couldn't have done it without them. I mean, yeah, sure, I could have gone to the hospital and gone through the entire thing, but I wouldn't have a house to come back to because they would chase me out. Yeah, but of course, knowing that they are behind me and having like my well-being and as well as what I want to do at heart is definitely one step in the right direction.
What about you, Karis?
Yeah, I really appreciated that my dad and my mom were both very supportive all the way. For me, I feel like I would have just done it, even if they disapproved. But
sorry, Mom.
It would have made the experience much, much tougher. So I think it's really great that they were there every step of the way, to encourage and then to also, make sure that everything is all right. Because I think parents, right, they kind of catch things that, the young people don't really do. Like we just go straight in, but I think they will, make informed decisions. So I think it was very helpful for my parents to be there. So.
Okay, so and the parents, Moe Kim, how do you feel about your daughter's decision? And what would you like to say to parents out there who might still have some concerns for their children?
Yeah, I would say that I'm very proud of her decision and also her determination. There's no any one time that she wanted to withdraw. And I think to those people out there who are still considering, I think after going through this experience, I thought that it's really a very meaningful act. Imagine that you could just do something and you have given a chance to save somebody's life. And I think the idea is really wonderful. And I think bone marrow after donation, you'll grow back within weeks. So especially if you're young and healthy, just go for it. Yeah.
Janice and Jeffrey, do you share similar sentiments?
Yeah, certainly I do. Or we do, yes. Because having gone through the whole process, I believe for Joey and for WMDD, they are actually very assuring to us. Yeah, at any one time that we have any doubt, they will clarify the spot as well. So I would say the whole journey we have been well informed and well taken care of up to the procedure itself.
All right, that's good to know. And last part, Dr. Koh, as parting words of advice, is there anything that you'd like to say to young donors as well as their parents?
I would urge all of you to come forward to donate. Your kind act, your sacrifice really make a big impact on the life of those patients needing your bone marrow for their bone marrow blood-related diseases. So please come forward. It is life-changing and we are truly grateful to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Koh, for those words. I think everyone on the panel today would agree that that's something that we hope everyone goes away with. Okay, thank you. I would like to thank all the speakers today. Thank you so much, Joey, Karis, Dr. Koh, Janice, Jeffrey, and Mui Kim. It was fun talking. Does anyone have any last words that you want to say? No? Okay. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone. It was really informative. I hope everyone have a great week ahead. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.